Good morning, everyone. Please have a seat and we will get started. Okay, so let's get started. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Stockholm Chamber of Commerce this beautiful, beautiful day. My name is Daniela Waldfogel, and I'm the CEO. of the Stockholm Chamber of Commerce, but I am also the chair of Swedish Chambers International, our chamber network across the world, spanning across 5 continents. We are 35 chambers of commerce collaborating, and I'm so happy. It's a great pleasure to welcome you here today, together with Business Sweden, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, embassies, partners, and business representatives, to launch the Global Business Climate Survey report. And we will have great discussions on stage in just a little while. But just a brief introduction. So for a year ago, we met here, and we met in turbulent times, just like today. And for companies operating internationally, this is no longer background noise. It's part of daily operations. So what companies need to find out is how to navigate, how to operate in this turbulent landscape. And this is why this survey actually matters. This year's Global Business Climate Survey is based on insights from more than 2,000 senior representatives of Swedish companies and across 41 markets. And it gives us a very valuable image and picture of Swedish business experience in the world, not from a distance, but from the ground. 3 things actually stand out here. First of all, we see that Swedish companies are meeting this turbulence with resilience. The other thing that stands out is that, of course, we don't have such a thing as one business, global business climate. So markets differ, conditions differ, and therefore it is extremely important to know the business on the ground. So in short, global success depends on local insights, and the local insights come from all the collaboration within the Team Sweden network. And third, trust, of course, in a volatile world is a competitive advantage. And one of the clearest findings in the report is the continued strength of brand Sweden. So the Swedish brand is associated with reliability, transparency, innovation, and sustainability. And this gives Swedish companies a strong foundation to build on. I'm looking forward to today's discussion, and I'm looking forward to knowing more about how Swedish companies face the turbulent landscape abroad. And a sincere thank you to Business Sweden, to the Swedish Chambers International Networks, to our embassies and consulate, and above all to the companies that have shared their experience and their insights. With that, I would like to introduce our next speaker on stage. That is Anna Brandt from the Ministry for Foreign Affairs. Anna, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Daniela. Dear friends around the globe, I know many are listening in digitally also, in addition to this packed room. It's really a great pleasure to attend the launch of the 7th Global Business Climate Survey. Welcome to all of you. Let me first express my deep appreciation to Swedish companies worldwide for your contribution to the survey, and of course to the Stockholm Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event, and to Business Sweden for compiling the survey. It really is an essential document for companies doing business and investing globally, and it's encouraging to see how the scope of the survey has continued to expand to include economic performance and operating conditions now in over 40 countries. And throughout the years, the survey has shown that doing business internationally involves both risks and opportunities. And even in challenging times like these, Swedish companies remain internationally engaged, demonstrating resilience through steady performance, investing rather than withdrawing, and moving towards new opportunities. And this year's survey shows that overall they have a positive take on the future in terms of working internationally, expanding sales and exports, with Europe as the primary focus and where the prospects seem to be most positive, but also with a focus on Asia and in particular India. Global trade is today being reshaped by the geopolitical tension and protectionism, and it's no surprise that the prospects for doing business in the US and in the Middle East remain rather bleak in the survey. But trade fundamentals remain remarkably resilient in the face of these geopolitical and geo-economical upheavals. We know that global trade actually grew last year in spite of many fearing that it would shrink. And the experience of Swedish companies shows that the turn inwards in these challenging times isn't an option. On the contrary, companies are actively working to de-risk through diversifying markets as well as value chains. And in these times, the World Trade Organization is our pillar in a rules-based world order that we're trying to defend. And in fact, more than 2/3 of global trade operates under WTO rules still. This is something that we need to take comfort in and draw strength from. And the EU is negotiating and agreeing new free trade agreements more swiftly than ever before. And this is something Sweden has been pushing for. We're delighted that we now have an agreement with Mercosur, with India, a modernized agreement with Mexico and Indonesia. These agreements bring countless benefits for those involved. And we keep on pushing for finalizing additional agreements, primarily with strategic partners in Asia and the Middle East. But for the EU to stay competitive, revitalization of the internal market is crucial. We must continue to reduce barriers, simplify and deregulate EU legislation, increase cross-border trade, and create an integrated capital market. And here Sweden has a lot to offer in terms of our very well-developed capital market. The service sector is also an untapped potential. Sweden continues to push for a more integrated service market with more harmonization between member states. And to signal to the world that Sweden is a staunch supporter of free trade and that we're open for business, our Minister for Trade, Mr. Benjamin Dousa, late last year launched a new concept, Made with Sweden. The purpose of Made with Sweden is to stress the necessity of working in partnership with others and to signal that we're open for trade, not just our exports, but also imports, and that we want to encourage investments in Sweden, and we're also supporting Swedish companies investing abroad. This concept has resonated very well with our partners over the last 6 months. All of you present here, in one way or another, are part of Team Sweden. And Team Sweden as a working method introduced a decade ago is becoming more and more effective as the government strategy for trade investment and global competitiveness, as well as the updated Sweden brand strategy, are being implemented. Daniela referred to how important the Swedish brand is, and I really agree with that. And we note through a survey that actually Business Sweden conducted that 82% of Swedish companies abroad appreciate the brand Sweden and believe that it's really important for their business. Another pillar of the trade strategy is to strengthen Sweden's position globally as a prioritized partner for green and digital transition. Swedish companies are key in this transition. By matching needs in countries' climate and development plans, Swedish solutions fill development and innovation gaps around the world. A very important example of how Swedish companies are contributing are the very many companies and agencies active in the development and reconstruction of Ukraine. And this is, of course, still the #1 priority of Swedish foreign policy. Our hope is that Team Sweden will continue to contribute in a consolidated way, deeper and broader to the agenda, both in our close neighborhood and in our important partner, Ukraine, but also across the globe. And I think the results of the survey that are going to be presented in a little while are encouraging in this regard. Thank you very much.
And now I would like to welcome up the CEO of Business Sweden, Jan Larsson.
Thank you. Thank you, Daniela, and thank you, Anna. And also on behalf of Business Sweden, I would like to thank you all for being here, and all of you that have are looking at this via the live stream. Very welcome here. And thank you especially to all those companies that participated in doing the survey. It's not easy to come after Anna and Daniela, but a few reflections. First of all, a year back, just after the Liberation Day, I think we were many, at least I thought that this would be a heavy blow to world economy, it would be a heavy blow to global trade. But I think this survey is the third kind of proof that that was wrong. First of all, if you look at world trade, every month since Liberation Day, the increase of world trade totally has been higher than historical average. So the world has not stopped trading just because there is a tariff bonanza in the White House. That's number one. Number two, Swedish export has increased in fixed prices if you compare the numbers for the full year 2025 to the full year 2024. So Swedish companies are exporting more after Liberation Day than they did before. And now I think this survey is 2 times maybe a coincidence. The third observation is definitely not a coincidence. And now we have the observation that although the turbulence, although the geopolitical tensions, although the war in Ukraine, the war in Iran, Swedish companies have in substance a positive view on trade and a positive view on doing business abroad. More than 2/3 report that they have profitable business abroad. Around 2/3 report that they're increasing their investments in the global markets across the globe rather than going down on the investments. So that is a really, really, I think, strong proof point that Swedish companies are still out there, they still see the opportunities, and they still want to grasp those or seize those opportunities that are out there. And that is good news. That is good news because that brings growth, that brings tax revenue, that actually supports the welfare system in a country like ours where half of our GDP comes from export. So in all, I think it's a very, very hopeful report and some very, very hopeful answers there, even though there naturally are nuances and shades of gray in the report that I think Ida and Lena will present shortly. So thank you very much again for being here, and especially thank you for answering to all the companies, but even more so, thank you for continuing to seize all those opportunities that foreign trade brings. Thank you.
So, good morning and hi everyone. It's now time for us to share the key findings in this year's Global Business Climate Survey. So, are you ready for that? I believe so. Good. I don't have a click, but it's happening. It's just happening. This is great. Maybe some kind of AI which could increase our productivity. So what do we do? Every year, since 7 years back, so this is the 7th edition of the Global Business Climate Survey, we compile the view from the Swedish companies abroad, which is really good. It's a unique source for us when we have compiled this for all the local markets into one global business climate survey that can support us in different decisions from the company's perspective, and also how we in Team Sweden in a better way can support the companies in different markets globally. So what do we look into? It's the financial conditions, it's success factors, different aspects of trade, obstacles that companies have, and conditions in the local market, sustainability, corruption. These are questions that we ask to the companies. And you can see that we have a little bit of the same title of the reports, which was commented this morning, that you usually have it, but as not least Anna Brandt said in her speech, it's actually crises that are coming into the global economy year after year since quite many years back, but we are resilient. So what do? We have the map here, so you can see more than 40 markets represented, 41 markets in the Global Business Climate Survey, an increase from last year, 37, now it's 41. So thank you once again for supporting us with the answers into these surveys, so we can really have a high response rate. And we have it. You can see that we have 2,250 or even more responses from the global markets out there. So that's really great for us. And one thing that is good to know before we go through the results is that these answers or surveys were conducted in February and March. So we have companies that answered prior to the war in the Middle East and after. So we don't necessarily capture all the effects that the war may have on companies, not least the business climate, investment plans, etc. When you download the report and look into it, you can see that there is a deep dive into how you can see the effects. But still, we keep this in mind. So now, Ida Ortega, the project manager, the great one that we have at Business Sweden, will help me to present the results. So welcome, Ida. So a great job. I hope it feels great to be on stage here with me now. So what about the business climate? How do the companies perceive it? Who is in the top? Yes. It's not the competition, but still.
Thank you, Lena, and thank you all for being here. So in this graph, we can see all the 41 markets participating in this year's survey, ranking the business climate from 1 to 5, where 1 is a very poor business climate and 5 is a very good one. If we look globally and overall, there is quite a cautious outlook on the business climate, although still 80% scores it on 3 or above 3. This leaves us at a global average of 3.3, which is in line with last year's result. And it also shows that, as was mentioned before, that there is still resilience among the Swedish companies, although we live in a very volatile world at the moment. If we look at the top 3, we can see that India continues to offer the most optimistic business climate for Swedish companies, together with 2 new markets for top 3, Ireland and Vietnam, followed by Poland and Denmark in top 5. In contrast, markets such as Slovakia, Germany, and Thailand received the least optimism from Swedish companies. And if we look at it regionally, we find APAC and Europe as the most optimistic regions, followed by Americas and then MEA+.
Encouraging, thank you. It's the same as we have in the Export Managers Index, by the way, the second quarter this year. So what about the financial conditions and how do they see profitability? Are they profitable? Or were they profitable the last year?
Yeah, exactly. So this questions ask about the financial results of the companies in 2025. And we can see that 64% of the companies reported that they were profitable in 2025, 15% that they had a break even, and 11% that they had a loss. This is a slight decrease from last year, but still we see that Swedish companies are profitable abroad. Europe is in the lead with very high results from, for example, markets like Czech Republic and Spain, followed then by APAC, the Americas, and lastly, MEA+. Apart from Czech Republic and Spain, we also have very strong results in the Netherlands and in Poland, while in markets as Nigeria, Kenya, and also Mexico, the share of profitable companies are lower. And we can also see that large companies in the industrial sector are the most profitable ones.
Interesting to also divide it into different company segments. So investments, this is an interesting factor, of course, and could have been affected, but still companies seem to invest in their investments plans when they look ahead a year
Yes, exactly. So in this question, we ask about the investment plans of the companies for the coming 12 months. And from a global perspective, 13% plan to significantly increase their investments, 31% that it will slightly increase, 37% foresee no change, and then we have 13% that plan to reduce investment. If we look at the specific markets, South Africa, the Philippines, and India, once again, are in the top for the most ambitious investment plans. And from a regional perspective, actually, we find MEA with the strongest investment plans. So even though that MEA Plus was the last regionally when it comes to business climate and profitability, it's very positive to see that companies still have a long-term optimism and they still have a willingness to actually invest. And MEA Plus is then followed by APAC, the Americas, and lastly Europe in this question. And if we look at companies at the more modest end, Austria, Argentina, and Italy has the highest share of companies planning to reduce investments.
So overall, quite an optimistic investment climate, maybe a bit due to that we see a lot of investments in infrastructure, physical, digital, AI, energy, defense, medtech, etc., where we do have Swedish companies in the forefront. So I think it's encouraging to see that companies, and we know it, you are all long-term in the investment decisions, but still new investments coming in. So the next one is the success factors, how to be competitive in the global market. What do the companies say about that?
Yes, so this is a very interesting question, and we can see that cost efficiency remains the strongest success factor globally, but this year with an even wider margin compared to last year. So it's even more important this year, and this is followed by sales competence and local partnerships and relationships out on the markets. The result differs slightly if we look at different regions. We can see that cost efficiency is top one in APAC and MEA Plus, while the top one in Americas and Europe is sales competence. So two different views at it if you look at it regionally.
Good, and this is also interesting, maybe related to supply chain issues, all the crises that we do see, inflation, energy prices, etc. Now you probably need to look more into cost efficiency. We will talk about this more in the panel discussion. But Brand Sweden, Anna helped us with the 82%, but you can elaborate a little bit more on the Brand Sweden. What does it mean for the companies operating globally?
Exactly. So just as Anna Brandt mentioned, 82% of the Swedish companies abroad actually reported that Brand Sweden is beneficial for their business globally, which is of course very positive to see, while only 13% said that they see little or no added value in the Swedish brand identity. The perception is consistent regardless of size, industry, maturity, but also consistent with the results from last year. With the broad consensus that Sweden's brand identity actually enhances competitiveness, maybe together with cost efficiency or sales competence out there. If we look at individual markets, we can see that Ukraine, Brazil, and Saudi Arabia reported the highest shares of companies confirming that Brand Sweden is beneficial. And in contrast, markets such as Denmark, the Netherlands, and the United States had lower shares.
Good, thank you. Then we have trade barriers and also one question on environmental aspects. So
Exactly.
I give the floor to you for both questions.
Yes. I mean, trade barriers is a very interesting topic at the moment, as we all know, and we can see that in all regions except for APAC, companies have experienced increased trade barriers this year compared to last year. We can see that globally custom procedures and regulations are the most commonly encountered trade barriers from the Swedish companies, and regionally MEA Plus had the highest shares of encountered trade barriers, followed by America, while in APAC and Europe companies encounter these kind of obstacles to a lesser extent.
And environmental aspects. That's
Exactly.
the last that we share now. Then you have to deep dive on your own into the report.
Exactly. So we will share a QR code in the end where you can scan the report and download it and read the nitty-gritty. But this is the last question that we will present. And as Lena said, this question is asking about how the consumers out there actually value environmental factors in their purchasing decisions. And we see that 34% said that their customers consider the environmental aspects to a great extent or to an extent. And if we also add partially, then we're up to 60%. And this is actually a slight decrease compared to last year, but if we look until last year, we saw a slight increase. So it's only this year that it has decreased a bit. Europe continues to be in the lead with the companies such as Norway, France, and the UK, while it matters the least in South Africa, Malaysia, and Ukraine.
Good. Thank you so much,
Thank
Ida,
you.
for sharing the key results. Now we move over to the panel discussion. Thank you, Ida.
Thank you.
So now we need to deep dive a little bit with a prominent panel with 5 panelists. So I will invite you all up on stage. Thomas Kuta, who is the head of Swecon Group and former Senior Vice President, Region Asia, Volvo Construction Equipment. Niklas, you can continue here, so we save time. Niklas Engström, Group CEO, RVM Systems. Welcome to you as well. Fredrik Modalen, Public Affairs Manager, SKF Group. Olivia Lönnvik, Vice President, Controlling and Finance, Epiroc India. So you will get a lot of questions on India. Linda Lindberg, Vice President and Head of Sales, Commercial Management, Business Area Networks, and Head of Group Sales, Ericsson. Long titles, but most welcome to all of you. So great to have you all here. Very nice, strong lineup here. Olivia, India is on the top position when it comes to business climate. Could you elaborate a little bit, because you work with India all the days during the weeks?
Yes, since last 2 years. First of all, it's very encouraging to see the outcome of this survey. I think it confirms the belief we've had in Epiroc, where I work for many years, that India is a strategic market today, but also will remain in many years to come. To me, there are 2 key factors. It's location and growth. So in today's geopolitical environment, there is a very strong focus among multinational companies to build a more balanced and resilient footprint. And with Asia Pacific emerging as the biggest and most important market for many companies, including Epiroc, companies need to have strong footprints in Asia Pacific. And in Asia Pacific, it is no longer enough to only be in China. You need to go somewhere else. And then the natural alternative is India, because India is the fastest growing big economy in the world, and the growth is expected to remain at a high level for many years to come. And this growth is supported by many favorable trends, just to mention a few. Rapid urbanization, driving huge infrastructure investments, favorable demography with a young working population, but also an improving productivity. And these factors, together with access to one of the world's largest talent pools, makes it a very attractive environment for companies to grow, invest, and build long-term capabilities.
Huge opportunities. I will be back to you with a few questions on the other side, challenges as well. Fredrik, from SKF's side, how do you see the global business climate right now?
No, but of course, as mentioned, certain markets are standing out. China, India, the Asian region in general. SKF, as any big company, has to rearrange their operations to the current world order. I mean, what's happening right now is increased tensions and supply chain disruptions. But we're seeing also that it's SKF initiated a strategy of local for local a couple of years back, and this sort of regionalization has helped us very well in this climate.
Yeah, because you can adapt in an easier way.
Exactly.
I believe. Good. And then we move over to Niklas. RVM Systems, reverse vending machines, number 2 globally. This is great. What about the business climate? It's great for you, I believe.
we are really dependent on one thing, and that is deposit return system markets starting. And they start because of a political decision. So we are going where the political decision is going in the direction of deposit return system, because once that DRS market comes, we will have an opportunity to sell. So we are not really governed by the global trends. We are really governed by global, or actually national legislation.
Good. Maybe we can add a few markets from the Team Sweden perspective. We take that afterwards. So thank you. Thomas, now you're head of Swecon Group, and you are present globally as well. How do you perceive the business climate in different parts of the world?
Just for everybody to know, is it working? I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, that's better.
Collaboration.
I have a strong voice, otherwise I think you would hear me. But just for you who might not know, Swecon Group is the largest retailer of Volvo construction equipment in Sweden, Germany, and Baltic states. And the Volvo Group have just acquired. We closed the acquisition 1st of March. So since 1st of March, I relocated from Asia. I spent 7 years in China. And now I'm heading the Volvo Group, Swecon Group. So still here with the opinions I have, I represent the Volvo Group as a whole. And I can basically say the same. You know, we see a very turbulent situation. We see surprisingly resilient Europe. Actually, we see some improvements in some major markets, like Hope in Germany. Definitely, Sweden is strong. And then in North America so far, it's fairly, I would say, it's not necessarily growing, but it's still fairly balanced. And our focus, similarly, is very much on India, Latin America. But then maybe later, I say a few words also about how we should, from Sweden and from Europe, look at China.
Good. We will maybe be back, thank you, to China and the Chinese competition in the discussion here. Linda, the service sector, and Ericsson, communication, everything that you do, how do you see it right now?
I mean, first of all, I think the description of resilience in a volatile world that well describes, I think, the needs and the situation that we also see in our industry. Ericsson, we operate in telecom. Telecom is critical infrastructure for countries, societies, and enterprises. And as such, we also, in many countries, have what's called high-risk vendor regulation, which limit who can really deliver this critical infrastructure. And these are countries like Sweden, US, India, and US. And some other markets, we do not have this type of regulation. So in Africa, Southeast Asia, and LATAM. So we need to adjust to very different local market situations and be adaptive to these realities. What is common, though, I think, is that the complexity we see and how quickly things are changing also, we need to be more proactive in the way we engage not only with customers, but also with other key stakeholders, local ecosystems, politicians, regulatory stakeholders, and so forth. So that's also changing the way we need to operate.
Thank you, so interesting. And this is a good segue over to you, Olivia, again. From your perspective, how do you adapt in an efficient way to new market conditions, regulations? I know that it's a positive business climate, but not least India. It's complicated as well.
Yes, but I would say surprisingly little complicated. I think we definitely sense that India has a big network of free trade agreements and are open for business. But yes, of course, there are some trade barriers that we need to navigate. And if I'm to mention one, it's definitely the customs procedures that can be cumbersome. But as I said, surprisingly few occasions where we have to navigate this.
And you are quite a large companies. I think it's even more trickier for small, medium-sized companies. I think you mentioned that in the preparatory meeting that others could have more challenges because it's...
Absolutely. So this works very different in India. It is a different market. So we many times take support from external support in these situations to navigate well.
And I brand already now, Sofia Högberg, raise your hand. We have our trade commissioner from India in the room if you are interested, particularly in India. So thank you for that. Looking a bit more into success factors, market conditions, and also trade barriers. Frederick, how do you see it from your side? You could start with the choose.
No, but looking at success factors in this sort of turbulent world, I mean, as the world becomes more protectionistic, we see the need to be more local, as I said earlier. But this regionalization also serves another purpose. It allows us to be close to our customers, to take in what they need and what the local conditions are like, and then we can adjust our operations accordingly. This means better innovation, better responsiveness, shorter lead times, and so forth. And so, of course, this sort of helps our innovation at large.
So you need to continuously adapt. That's part of the daily work.
So even though the sort of movements of the world, the protectionism, makes us have to regionalize in part, it also helps in this other endeavor. So there's two parts of it.
And be more innovative maybe as well.
For sure.
Yeah. Niklas, what do you see as the crucial factor to be successful going into new markets?
So for us to be successful, we need, again, I'm very consistent in my messaging. I need a deposit return system because that creates the market that I need. So that's really it. We go to countries that are about to start deposit return systems, and then we stay in the market that already has it.
How do you get the information? How do you know where to go? You follow the regulations and markets that you think could be of interest for you?
So for my group, Europe is the biggest market, and in Europe we have a really strong driver, and that is the EU directive saying that by year 2029, 90% of all beverage packaging should be recycled. So that's EU directive is really creating lots of new deposit return system markets.
And that's good for you because it's stability and you can invest in.
It's good for me, but it's also good for the world and the
yes, it
environment.
is, and circularity and all this. So thank you for that message. It was also quite clear. Thomas, it works now. Oh, everything is from AI. I don't know. Since you have spent many years now in Asia, in China, how do you see the competition, the sharp competition from the Chinese companies globally, not just in China, but also in Europe, Global South, etc.?
I wish I would have a half a day now to talk about this because this is extremely close to my heart.
So now the elevator pitch more.
And the elevator pitch is, I think we have a lot to learn now, because the Chinese have learned a lot from us over the years, and they have perfected ways of working. They became very efficient, very effective. But it's not just Chinese. Many of our Western competitors, in our case, for example, Caterpillar, is heavily vested, for example, in China. And what do is we have this regional supply chain as well. Of course, we're now investing in Sweden, a new factory here in Eskilstuna, etc. But this will not be sufficient because where we need to combine is the local production with the supply chain, which today cannot be replaced actually from nowhere except for us. China is by far the most competitive supply chain we have in our heavy industry. So we are trying to find a balance between, of course, not putting all the eggs in the basket and have only supplies from China, but still keep some local suppliers, but finding what and when we can buy, develop, send to our factories around the world from China, but at the same time be ready if there's any global disturbance so we can switch quickly to the local suppliers. So it's a very complex situation right now, and I would say you cannot avoid to be in China now, especially tapping in a supply chain. Not necessarily as a market, it's very difficult as a market, but a supply chain extremely important.
Are you worried?
I'm concerned. I think we are underestimating in the Western world the impact which Chinese, especially supply chain, also in many cases OEMs and many Western OEMs. We see, for example of Scania, of course, now building the mega factory, Tesla building a mega factory. the efficiency and effectiveness of the work is unprecedented. We have never seen this in, at least in the past 30 to 50 years in anywhere in the industrial world. So we need to understand it. We need to learn from it. We need to adapt to it. And there we are putting a lot of efforts to understand how we implement in Volvo Group way of working.
And in an AB Sweden context, I believe, with Team Sweden as well, and including the European perspective. Olivia, a short comment from you.
Yes, just wanted to add to that on regional supply chain and key success factors in India. So I think the opportunity for this and localization is huge in India. That said, it is a challenge to build advanced manufacturing capabilities in India. They have a long history of being a service industry. So this is something we are working very hard with, and it's really a key success factor. And secondly, you need a very well-developed supplier base with suppliers that consistently meet global quality standards. And for a company like Epiroc, who is now shifting focus from previous India for India to India for region and globe, this becomes particularly important.
Very good, and that's very well aligned with what Jan, our CEO at Business Sweden, in his introductory speech said that Swedish companies are really good at adapting, so we keep up with trade and investment still. So Linda, you said also, mentioned this adaptation, how you need to adapt. Could you elaborate a little bit more? How do you do this in a successful way? What are the key messages to all the ones that are around here?
In our industry, we compete on global scale, and our main competitors in China, they have a huge domestic market that's partly subsidized. So we're competing, and we unfortunately don't yet have the same kind of domestic scale in Europe. So we need to search it also in other countries like US, India, and Japan. That's becoming increasingly important for us. We're still optimistic about Europe, though. But so for us, it's very much how do we balance enabling like global scale with local competitiveness and ability to adjust to the local needs. And competition is fierce, as you were saying. It's really, really tough to strike this balance in a way. And even big companies need support and help. And we are really both in different ways, but also in partnerships and collaborations. And we're really grateful for the support that we get from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the government, but also Business Sweden. And I think this...
And the chambers.
And the chambers, of course. And that type
Team
of collaboration
Sweden.
is growing in importance.
Yeah.
I think in the past, you know, our salespeople spend majority of their time with the customer. Today, many of our country heads and sales heads, they spend as much as a third of their time with these other broader stakeholders, yourselves included. So this is growing in importance in enabling that proactivity to adapt to the fast-changing needs.
And that's also what we saw, that cost efficiency, sales competence, and partnership collaboration. And if we can join forces, I think we are stronger together, even though you sometimes compete with other companies. That's good as well. So I would like us to elaborate a little bit on cost efficiency, because it stands out, and that's what we hear in client dialogues as well, that now it's time to look into more cost efficiency to be competitive. So from each of you, we can start with you, Fredrik, just a short reflection. Is that on the top for you? Is it a little bit of a new situation? You have built the resilience for many years and expanded to markets, and now
Yes, I think
it's costly, I believe.
I mean, of course, cost is always a necessary part of the equation for SKF, and it was built in many ways to have a global supply chains for optimization purposes. But we see, of course, a stronger need to build resilient organizations, to localize in some aspects, whilst for other things we stay global.
But that's costly for you. Do you agree?
Of course.
Or
But
protectionism,
the
all
cost
this
is
that's
maybe-
on the top.
Yeah, so I mean, it might seem costly to localize certain supply chains in the short term, but in the long run, as we've seen in the
It's an
last
investment.
3-4 years, I mean, starting with COVID, then the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the wars in the Middle East, the closure of Hormuz, all of these things add cost to having global supply chains, and of course, having then the resilience built in can be a cost benefit as well.
Niklas, comment from you?
My comment about cost is that I work in an industry where they are really forced to buy my products. So that makes my customers, that are mainly the big food retailers, they are very conscious about cost. That's what they do. They buy in products and sell it. So they are very conscious about cost and expect cost efficiency from me as a supplier.
Good. Thomas.
I can continue on that note, which I spoke before. The cost now is it's more important than ever, since we have this huge entry of the Chinese OEMs and the Western OEMs who localized in China, especially. So cost is absolutely a priority, and it's very much linked also to way of working. Because, for example, speed of development, we have before had a cycle of 5 years in our industry, which is trucks, buses, construction equipment. Chinese do it in a year and a half. They don't do it perfect, but they do it in a year and a half. So we now have to adapt the speed of development. We have to find also the new ways of working. That means it's not just the product cost. We're looking now much more in the total solution which we provide to the customers, where maybe the competition from China cannot really yet compete with us because they don't have a presence, as significant presence globally as we have. So it's very much about the solution providing, but still basis is the products have to be cost competitive as well. And that's linked to the, as I talked before, the supply chain.
Yeah. And another way of doing it, since Swedish European companies don't brand their product before they are top notch, I believe. That could be a challenge. Another way of thinking.
Yeah, and I think the one other way, talking about the cost, is I think in Europe, and this is the big discussion about, and I think some of them mentioned the subsidies from, for example, Chinese government. I think we need to find the ways in Europe, both how we, of course, protect our market, but also at the same time how the state and governments get more involved, not necessarily subsidized, but how can they support the commercial world in a different way, because I think Chinese found a very interesting business models which they're applying make them very competitive.
Linda, how do you see this success factors?
I mean, similar to what Fredrik described.
Or cost efficiency,
in a similar situation. When it comes to operations, I think the resilience becomes increasingly important. Having that flexibility, as I say, it's an investment to have that robust kind of based operation, but it's also to enable sales agility or business agility. So those two, it's not either or, it's not cost or
a good point.
Like sales capability. It's really how do you balance and combine the both? Because when you have disruption or crisis or whatever we call it, it's also opportunity. And resilience can sometimes come across a little bit defensive. And maybe for the operations part, that may be the approach we need to take. But from a business perspective, we need to be agile. We need to make sure that we can act fast and we can also grasp the opportunities that will come in these situations, being fast to respond and therefore also strengthen our business position.
Thank you. And then Olivia, and I will already now post the last question and then we will sum up. So also, how are you reassessing where to focus your growth and investments now?
So for a company like Epiroc, I think growth will always be the primary driver where to locate your investments, but it needs to be balanced with the need for resilience. So for Epiroc, that means strategic markets that can reduce our concentration risk. And surprisingly, we are investing very much in India at the moment. So we are currently building our first ever greenfield factory in Epiroc in Nashik for capital equipment. It's in construction phase right now. And last year we also expanded with a second manufacturing plant for tools in Hyderabad. And we are also growing our innovation capabilities in India, so expanding beyond Bangalore into Hyderabad and Chennai.
Investing for the future. Fredrik, how do you reassess where to focus growth investments
so
going forward?
We continue consolidating our footprint to be close to the markets in proximity. But then also related to the cost earlier, I mean, SKF is an engineering company. We continue focusing on innovation. And that's a way to be competitive in the future as well, and also in our growth aspects. Further, sustainability, super important for us, both in the various types of circular offerings. That also has an agenda within the resilience part. But having this sort of technology leadership, innovation, sustainability components, whilst decarbonizing our operations globally, are sort of the key focus right now.
So the brand Sweden makes sense.
For sure.
For sure. Thank you. Niklas, you stick to your
I have to stick
line.
to what I've said all the time, that we primarily invest in countries that are about to adopt the deposit return system. So
Good, clear message,
I
and
will
you need the
continue with that.
regulations.
And there are some really large markets coming in the coming years, such as Spain, Italy, France, and UK is about to be decided. So I have some big opportunities.
Yeah, so create value for the globe, so to say, and for sustainability, and very good. Thank you. Thomas, how do you see
just
it now?
to add on the regional supply chains we are developing, of course, globally as a Volvo Group, one of the absolute priority for us is the technology development. Because that's a transformation in our industry which is happening, and that, of course, all you know, it's the e-mobility and it's the automation. And there's many other propulsion possibilities, especially for heavy equipment. The electromobility, especially battery electric, is quite difficult at the moment. So the hydrogen, fuel cells, hydrogen, there's many different things. So the investments, right investments to technology will be very crucial. So, and again, these are linked to the customer total solutions, including the automation, because the customers now are requesting a very different type of solutions than maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago.
Thank you. And Linda.
Yeah. I mean, we are operating in more than 180 countries. We serve customers in more than 180 customers. So it's a broad range of countries that we cover. But in addition to the main markets, like I spoke about earlier, US, India, and Japan, our domestic markets, including Sweden, we also need targeted effort to specific strategic countries. And that's in particular where we like to proactively collaborate with local ecosystem partners like yourselves and so forth. And we try to be more proactive in those engagements, ensuring that we can establish the right type of collaboration where so needed. And obviously now we're very hopeful about the development in Europe, and so we really hope to strengthen our position there as see how things develop there. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And it's interesting to hear that the feeling here is that you have more or less the same view. It's a cautious optimism out there. You still invest. You see that you can contribute to the future and the challenges that we have, and we need to join forces in the Nordics and in Europe. And Europe is key for us to be competitive when we have competitors from the US and China, these huge markets, and India coming in with a very fast speed. So now this is challenging for you. I have prepared you. We will see how you deliver now. So it's the last question. What is the most important factor, as you see it, to be competitive in the global market? We start with you, Olivia. One word, if possible. That's your assignment.
I will say speed. Then I will add that in today's competitive landscape, customers are not waiting for you. So speed is
very good.
Important.
Sharp and neat. Thank you. Speed.
From
yes,
SKF.
Frederick. Yes.
Yes.
SKF and you. Yeah.
From SKF, innovation.
Speed, innovation.
From our VM systems side, it's grit. You have to
Grit.
try again, and don't give up.
Very good. Thank you for that. I think we should learn that, all of us. Thomas?
Yep. So I would think, for me, at least personally, or for Volvo maybe, it's a curiosity and learning. Because we need to be curious what's happening out there, and we have to learn, not just look inwards.
Thank you.
And for me, the word would be agility, both for technology, for operations, and for business adjustments.
Good. Now we have the recipe. We know exactly what to do and how to be successful wherever you go in the global market. So just do it. And thank you so much to Olivia, Frederick, Niklas, Thomas, and Linda. Thank you. Great. Thank you so much. And now you can leave the floor here. And now we have come to the concluding remarks. And then I need my Jonas Lindström, Swedish Chambers International, and also the CEO of the Swedish Chamber of Commerce in Brazil. Thank you for the great collaboration. You will have the final concluding words to all in the room and the ones that are online.
Thank you, Lena.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. Yes, a few closing remarks from me, representing Swedish Chambers International. Yes, what a journey it has been. 7 years of presenting global business climate reports. And I think the fact that more than 2,200 executives in 41 countries take of their valuable time to reply to a survey, it shows itself the importance of this initiative and that the report has become a valuable tool. I came to think about the launch event in 2021. That is only 5 years ago, but the world was different. Business was different. Stockholm was different. I think you remember, Lena, we went to a studio to do a webinar.
Yeah, we did. We did, actually.
Dark basement somewhere over there.
Yeah.
We were not more than 5-6 people in the room, COVID tested, COVID vaccinated. The keynote speaker was Christer Nilsson, State Secretary. And during the coffee break, he mentioned to me that he had just visited my small hometown up in Hälsingland, because that's the only place where he had found a carpenter who could fix his window frames, wood for his house, which is more than 200 years old. Anyway, came back to Brazil. I sent a rather informal email to Christer thanking him for the webinar. And by the way, always welcome to Brazil. Shortly after, I had a phone call from a very enthusiastic Swedish ambassador up in Brasilia, saying, Jonas, the state secretary has confirmed coming to Brazil. How did this happen? We have tried for ages through the official ministry channels to invite him to Brazil. And he came to Brazil, was very well received by the embassy, Business Sweden, the chamber. At the chamber, we hosted an event for our new public affairs committee, something that Christer works with when he's not a politician. So just one example of how our own triple helix, Team Sweden triple helix, can work, right? And I think many of you in this room have similar experiences of the magic that happens when diplomacy and business meet on our platforms. Working with Sweden concept, I think it's great, fantastic. But also to walk the talk, I think we need to act together, work together, especially in times like these. Going to the local reports, many of you are here, I think, with an interest for a specific country, specific market. So I encourage you to look at the local reports. Most of them are launched already. The one in Brazil we launched 3-4 weeks ago, of course, with Team Sweden, the ambassador at the chamber in São Paulo, and we even had the country's vice president present at the event, so lots of media coverage. Yes. So I think those were my messages, Lena. But lastly,
okay, then we can repeat the recipe.
No,
the most important.
The
recipe.
keywords from the panel.
Should we
the speed
remember
and the innovation?
Innovation, grit, curiosity, agility.
Agility. There we go.
Wait.
Recipe for success.
Listen carefully. Thank you.
Last but not least, thank you all of you, Daniela in the Chamber of Commerce, for hosting this fantastic event. Also, always very, very well organized. The panelists, thank you for sharing your expertise. Ida and Lena, as always, fantastic. Not only today, but the whole project. I think it was great working with you. And for those of you who have been watching, those of you here in Stockholm, I wish you a great summer and look forward to seeing all of you again in June next year.
And reach out to Team Sweden. The door is always open all over the world. Thank you so much to all of you. Thank you.